Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we are dealing with another miniature Cattleya that I'm currently trying to save. Before we do that, I need to vent, you guys. I've had quite the interesting morning. So today I planned on working with the Habenaria because it's not looking good and I suspected there was something wrong with the quorum. Turns out, yes, there is something wrong with the quorum. It's not there, so we lost the Habenaria. At least we can use it for the purpose of learning, right? Well, I thought I pressed the record button, but I didn't. So I filmed something, I filmed some B-rolls and then, the nothingness that should have been the quorum. So I cannot even use the footage. I will do a short just to update about the Habenaria. She's not with us. There we go. Seems like it's not meant for me, but it was okay. But then I don't even have the footage. Oh my goodness. Anyway. Back to the video. Sorry for the vent, but I needed to tell somebody and it's 6 in the morning. My husband is sleeping. Right, so today we're gonna work with a miniature Cattleya that is very, very dear to me. This is the Cattleya Hawaiian Splash Lea, which again I received, but it was a very, very tiny, kind of sickly individual. And as you will see, we need to intervene a little bit with something today. But I have new growth and new roots, so I'm hoping this one will have the same fate as the other miniature Cattleya we worked with a couple of weeks ago. So before we start, don't forget to give this video a like if you find it useful, and why not subscribe? I post multiple times a week. But if you're feeling a little extra, consider further supporting my channel by using the affiliate links down below, becoming a member, getting some merch, or using the super thanks option down below. Right. A couple of weeks ago, I posted a video about the Eternal Rose acrylic container that I told you can easily transform into a humidity chamber. There it is. Now I'm using it for this Sideria japonica. And somebody in the comments mentioned that I can also use a habitat for insects. And guess what? Ta-da! Yes, I'm already using it. That is a great idea because it actually has ventilation holes already punched. So if you have this around, you can use that. You can even purchase it for that purpose. The point of that video was to just reuse this piece of acrylic because it's substantial and it can be reused rather than throw it away. Definitely you can find a great use for it with your houseplants, but definitely also tarantula habitats. This, I got it for praying mantises, the ones that I was expecting and never got, not the green ones that I had. And as it just so happens, this Cattleya is sitting in this habitat, let's say, for 2 reasons. 1, to limit potential pests, and 2, maybe to raise a little bit the humidity because this little orchid is a little suffering, as you will see. So from the beginning, this orchid was not the most established. It was a tiny seedling / tissue culture obtained orchid. Anyway, it was young and it didn't have way too many roots. I don't remember if it actually had 2 good roots, maybe just 1. So I potted it in my typical sphagnum moss medium with some bark on top, and it didn't do all that much in a while. It's been at least 6 months. For whatever reason, I didn't write the date on the tag. That is new. And half of it died off. Now I tried to pull it out of the pot, but it's not coming out. So I need to go down to the rhizome, and I think it is a good idea to go check the sphagnum moss as well, just to see if I have any roots that I've forgotten about and maybe they died in the medium, and also make a clean cut here because I don't want to cut anything from the half that is actually doing good and it's currently putting out new growth. So because we didn't have a good root system, it was actually a good idea to raise a little bit the humidity around it. I didn't want to go for like 100% humidity increase or anything of the sorts, but I did discover, and if you watch the video that I posted on Wednesday, I did discover that in these habitats, the humidity tends to rise just a little bit more, not to risky levels. If you have too much humidity, you risk the appearance of condensation. If you have condensation, you run the risk of rot. If those water droplets fall in the new growth without air movement, you can imagine it's not gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a rotten growth. So it's important to have some ventilation, but definitely the lack of a lot of air movement will keep the humidity a little higher around the orchid. And it actually helped the tiny Cattleya that we saw 2 weeks ago. And I think it helped this one as well. And I know somebody was asking if anybody has a link on Amazon for the Eternal Rose containers. I didn't get it from Amazon, I got it locally, so maybe check your flower shop, or just if you ever see them, know that you can do a habitat with them. Or if you really could benefit from something like this, you can search on Amazon or wherever you want for insect habitats, acrylic insect habitats, and you can find this, which looks better. It's not all that expensive, and I actually have an unboxing and a put together on this product as well. Link below in the description, right? Let's unpot this little orchid and see what we have inside. Alrighty, so the usual thing, press a little bit on the pot to release the roots that might be attached. And then I'm gonna actually use this dry bit to pull out the orchid. Look at that! Look at the pretty root. Can we see? Let's get you in closer. Look. That is great to see. I did not use slow release fertilizer for this orchid yet again to protect the roots. And probably that's why I don't have a date on the tag, but it's not more than 6-8 months, something like that. And look at that, we have quite a lot of new roots. The reason why I am removing all of this moss, unlike what we did with the other orchid, is that I want to see all of the dead roots that might be intertwined with the good ones. Because we have some dead roots here, do we see? I'm guessing they're all coming from this side. So let's just try first to pull it apart. Maybe it's gonna work. If it doesn't work, we're gonna have to cut the rhizome. And it's such a delicate procedure. Let's see. Okay, this was easy. It's always good to first try and pull them apart, because when you go in for a cut, if you have, like in this case, some tiny roots grown on top of the rhizome, you can cut some good roots as well. So if we can avoid this otherwise lovely tool, then we should. There are cases in which we can't, but yeah, this is actually looking good. I do have a few dead roots here, just 2-3. Yeah, as I was saying, this orchid did not have a good root system when it arrived. Reason why it took so long to do something. Plus, it might be that the hybrid itself is not as vigorous as the other Cattleya that we looked at. So what I'm doing now is cleaning this orchid as best as possible. I have some dead roots here that I'm gonna remove. Nice and easy, no need to hurry. Okay, I think we are good. And the presence of these roots is great. Right, so I'm not gonna reuse any of this because these roots, they already started to break down in here. So this time, I'm not gonna reuse the moss, but I will reuse the pot and the decorative pot. So what I'm gonna do is pretty much exactly the same thing. Brand new sphagnum moss, so a layer of sphagnum moss at the bottom. Okay, and then sphagnum moss in between the roots. Gonna make sure not to press down on it too much. I don't want to compact it. I want to maintain it airy and fluffy. And we're good. And of course on the top, we are going in with bark chips to avoid formation of cyanobacteria. I feel like I pour more around the pot than on the pot. It would have been ideal to have some smaller grade bark because this is a tiny pot, but I don't. We're gonna have to do with what we have. So this is January 23. There we go. Now we actually have a date on the tag. And hopefully from now on, this orchid will start to grow faster and faster. Theoretically, it should, because we do have those lovely roots, which I wouldn't have known we had I not repotted it. Now in the video with the other Cattleya from 2 weeks ago, it was better for the orchid not to remove the sphagnum moss, not to disturb it. I felt a little sad because I really actually wanted to show you how easy it is to remove very airy and loose sphagnum moss from the root system. It's like nothing. Whenever I tell you that the problem is the bark chips, that's what I mean, because the bark has much more of a flat surface and a longer surface for the roots to really attach to. So whenever you want to remove that bark, in many cases, you will remove a part of the velamen as well. Now, Phalaenopsis don't have any problem with that most of the times because they have very strong roots. But things like Cattleyas, and particularly very tiny, sensitive, stressed, weak Cattleyas, they will have something to say about it. The root system is their weakest point as it is. If it's a recovering orchid, all the worse. I don't want to be pulling parts of the velamen from the fresh roots. Well, with sphagnum moss, you don't do that. Sphagnum moss doesn't tend to attach that much because it doesn't have big flat surfaces. It's all a fluff, pretty much. And unless you have an orchid with very fuzzy roots, such as a Paphiopedilum, let's say, you won't have issues pulling out sphagnum moss from the roots, unless it's compacted. If it's compacted, it's bad. I usually use tweezers with that, but I never compact my moss, and I make sure to arrange the pot size as big enough as to account for a few years. Because what happens is the roots, as they're growing, they will compact that sphagnum moss on their own. So I'm trying to strike a balance between the pot size, between how fast the orchid will grow roots, and how much moss I'm putting in here. Right, now let's address a little bit that plastic box. So many people are worried that the air circulation around the orchid is impaired, and well, that is true. It is impaired. That's why the humidity is rising, because it's not wafted away by the wind or by fans or by AC or whatever draft you might have in your home. And that is the point of it. We don't want this humidity to be high enough to promote mold, but we don't want it to be low enough not to actually help the orchid and prevent water loss through transpiration. And this balance, again, is different from person to person. If you already have an environment which is extra humid and maybe even cool, maybe a container like this will do more harm than good. But in an environment which is mostly dry and mostly warm, something like this can be chef's kiss, which is my case. So even if you have a sickly orchid and you're thinking, well, I think this will help it out, it's gonna be the thing that I'm looking for, first think about your environment. Maybe it's not what you need at all. Maybe it's gonna do more harm than good. And if you're thinking of actually purchasing this for these very purposes, and if it turns out it's not good for you, then it's money out the window, right? So first think about it. How is your home? Is it more warm? Is it more dry? Is it rather cool? Do you like things on the cool side? Do you have some issues with humidity and molds? Well, yeah, this will make things even worse probably. Bottom line, don't go throwing your money away if you don't need it. And if you just want to try it first, I'm gonna repost that video on this channel as well. You can just use this type of a container. This had tomatoes in my regions in it, but it is a frappe or a coffee container. You can reuse one of these, just put some extra ventilation holes around, and it's pretty much gonna do the same thing. See if you can do with something like this first, which will be much cheaper and much easier to obtain. And if you don't have a mold salad, great, maybe you can actually invest in something like this, which looks a little better, right? But if it ends up in disaster, maybe don't spend your money on this. Right, so with that said, thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed today's video, and thank you for listening to me rant about the habenaria at the beginning. I really want that orchid. I'm gonna purchase it again. And maybe I'm gonna use sphagnum moss. The one time that I was successful with it is when I used sphagnum moss. I don't know, maybe I should get a hint. But it's not a very, very available orchid, so we'll see when that happens. But hey, on the bright side, my Hawaiian Splash Lea is doing great. This is one of my favorite Cattleyas, and one of my first Cattleyas, which I lost, and I do want to have it again. So yeah, let's end it here. Hope you'll have a great day. Subscribe for more videos, and if you're interested in aquariums, check out my second channel. Links below, down below in the description. And with that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye!